Have you ever felt the invisible burden of toxic relationships weighing on your spirit? Across modern society, emotional chains manifest through subtle, undermining comments, unreasonable expectations that drain our energy, and manipulations making us question our self-worth. Toxic relationships affect not only our emotional well-being, but our physical health too. The chronic stress from these dynamics raises cortisol levels, weakens immune function, and increases cardiovascular disease risk. Work productivity significantly decreases when trapped in cycles of emotional toxicity. Nearly 2 millennia ago, a powerful ruler confronted this same dilemma. Marcus Aurelius, Rome's emperor from 161–180 CE, governed the ancient world's mightiest empire. Despite commanding vast territories and legions, he found himself surrounded by palace intrigue, political betrayal, and constant pressure maintaining a troubled empire. The philosopher-emperor's pivotal moment came upon realizing that despite his authority, he remained enslaved by others' opinions, impossible expectations, and craving for approval. This revelation drove him deeper into Stoic philosophy, seeking freedom no imperial title could provide. The Stoic conception of inner freedom. What use is control over an empire without control over one's mind? This question underlies the philosophical revolution Marcus Aurelius experienced and documented in his personal writings, later known as Meditations. Stoicism offers a refreshing perspective on true freedom. It's not about controlling the external world or others' actions, but mastering our internal responses. This freedom is available to everyone, regardless of social status, wealth, or formal power. The root of all toxicity in human relationships stems from ignorance of the true good. People acting toxically do so because they're confused about what truly matters in life. They seek security by controlling others, validation through external approval, and happiness in fleeting circumstances. Others' opinions are like water in a sieve. Why try to retain them? This metaphor perfectly illustrates the futility of basing inner peace on what others think of us. Opinions are volatile, subjective, and ultimately beyond our control. We suffer not from what happens to us, but from our attachment to external opinions. When emotionally dependent on validation from toxic people, we surrender control of our happiness to those who least value it. It's like giving house keys to someone who has already demonstrated intent to ransack it. The first step toward liberation, according to Stoic philosophy, is recognizing that the problem isn't external. Toxic people don't directly harm us. Our decision to allow their actions to determine our emotional well-being does. This simple yet profound understanding is the starting point for reclaiming inner freedom. 10 Stoic principles to reclaim your freedom. 1. The economy of mental energy. Marcus Aurelius taught not to waste the remainder of life thinking about others, concerning ourselves with what they say, think, or do. This instruction may seem counterintuitive in our hyper-connected world, but contains profound wisdom about managing mental resources. The Stoic concept of economy of explanations holds that excessive justification is a strategic error. When feeling the need to repeatedly explain decisions to toxic people, we grant them judgmental power over us that they don't deserve. Stoics practiced conciseness, expressing decisions clearly but without defensiveness. A mental energy audit is a revealing exercise where for 1 week we record how much time we spend ruminating on comments or criticisms received, mentally rehearsing arguments or justifications, obsessively reviewing past interactions, anxiously anticipating possible future confrontations. This record typically reveals how much valuable mental energy we waste on people and situations we cannot control. The persuasion fallacy involves believing that with the right arguments, we can make resistant people change their perception of us. Experience shows that trying to convince someone determined to misinterpret us only consumes energy without results. Stoics recommended accepting that we cannot control others' opinions. In our digital era, establishing an information diet is vital for protecting mental peace. This includes limiting social media time, filtering notifications, establishing digital fasting periods, carefully selecting information sources, practicing regular device disconnection. These practices help reclaim control over our attention, our most valuable resource. 2. The freedom of non-control. The emperor clearly distinguished between things under our control and things beyond it. Under our control are thought, impulse, desire, aversion, essentially everything belonging to our internal actions. Beyond our control are body, property, reputation, position, everything not belonging to our actions. This Stoic distinction between controllable and uncontrollable provides mental and emotional clarity. By focusing exclusively on what we can directly influence, our decisions, values, and reactions, we free enormous energy previously wasted on unproductive concerns. Epictetus's circle is a visual exercise where we draw two concentric circles. In the inner one, we write everything under our direct control, and in the outer one, what's beyond our control. Regularly contemplating this diagram reinforces our capacity to invest energy where it can genuinely generate results. Anxiety, from the Stoic perspective, is essentially a symptom of trying to control the uncontrollable. When we accept the limits of our influence, we experience immediate release from tension associated with impossible responsibilities. In professional and personal relationships, specific techniques exist for releasing control. Practicing benevolent presumption, assuming good intentions until proven otherwise, consciously abandoning specific expectations about others' behaviors. The acceptable worst-case scenario technique, visualizing and making peace with possible negative outcomes. Effective delegation without micromanagement. Communicating needs without controlling outcomes. These strategies allow maintaining healthy relationships without falling into excessive control traps. 3. Understanding as liberation. We should awaken each morning conscious of the privilege of being alive, breathing, thinking, and loving. This morning gratitude practice sets the tone for inner freedom, reminding us what truly matters. To free ourselves from toxic people, the philosopher emperor suggests developing perspective, seeing others as they truly are, limited and confused. This isn't a view of superiority, but compassionate understanding. When we understand toxic people act from their own confusion and pain, we can stop taking their actions personally. A practical exercise for developing this understanding is the Compassion Journal. It involves daily recording interactions that irritate us, then transforming them through compassionate reflection. In everyday life, we can apply the 3 whys technique to understand hidden motivations behind toxic behaviors. It consists of asking why 3 times when faced with annoying action, digging deeper into possible underlying motivations. This exercise helps see beyond surface behavior and develop empathy, even in difficult situations. 4. The inviolable inner temple. We shouldn't be disturbed, for nothing external can harm our soul. This concept of an inviolable inner space is fundamental in Stoic philosophy. Stoics developed the idea of the inner citadel, a mental sanctuary where we can retreat during stress or conflict. This space isn't physical, but a mental state of serenity and clarity accessible regardless of external circumstances. To strengthen this inner citadel, we can practice fortress meditation, a guided visualization where we imagine our values and principles as protective walls sheltering us from toxic influences. For a few minutes daily, we visualize these walls strengthening, becoming impervious to unfair criticism, manipulation, and external drama. It's important to identify when someone is compromising our balance. Signs may include feeling emotionally exhausted after interacting with certain people, noticing changes in our speech patterns or behavior to appease someone, experiencing anticipatory anxiety before specific encounters, constantly doubting our own perceptions, gaslighting. In our digital age, establishing both digital and in-person boundaries is crucial. This may include silencing notifications from energy-draining people, setting specific times to check messages, or implementing the 2-hour rule, not checking devices during the first 2 hours after waking or the last 2 hours before sleeping. 5. Emotional immunity. We have power over our mind, not external events. Understanding this distinction is fundamental for finding strength against toxic people. The Stoic technique of judgment suspension involves creating space between stimulus and response. When someone says or does something potentially offensive, Stoics recommend pausing before reacting, asking ourselves, is this really as important as it seems now? How will I view this incident in a week, month, or year? A practical method to implement this pause is stop, suspend immediate reaction, transpire, breathe consciously. Observe our thoughts and emotions without judgment. Proceed with a conscious response, not reaction. In modern life, we can develop an emotional immune system against provocations by regularly practicing cosmic perspective meditation, visualizing our problems from the universe's vastness, mindful physical exercise, and gradual exposure to small discomforts to strengthen emotional resilience. 6. The art of dignified refusal. We must no longer consent to the divine part within us being enslaved by others. This instruction reminds us about preserving autonomy and dignity. A fundamental difference exists between being useful and being used. Stoics valued service to others as virtue's expression, but recognized that permitting abuse benefits nobody. Establishing healthy boundaries not only protects us, but also establishes more authentic, balanced relationships. The Stoic no is a powerful tool. Unlike refusal born from resentment or fear, Stoic rejection comes from clarity about values and priorities. It's communicated firmly, but without hostility, with the calm certainty of someone who knows their limits. A crucial aspect of this principle is guilt liberation. Stoicism teaches we shouldn't apologize for protecting ourselves. Guilt about establishing healthy boundaries is often social programming designed to maintain unequal relationships. True respect for ourselves and others requires honesty about what we can and cannot accept. In practical situations, we can use scripts like, I value our relationship, but cannot accept these types of comments. Ooh, I understand your urgency, but need to respect my own time and energy limits. This isn't possible for me right now. I appreciate your understanding without needing additional explanations. These phrases establish clear boundaries without excessive justification or unnecessary confrontation. 7. The transformative power of silence. Marcus Aurelius observed that the more we talk about what offends us, the more dominion the offense has over us. This profound observation reveals how our attention amplifies what we wish to overcome. Silence, as strategy, doesn't imply submission, but power. When consciously choosing not to respond to provocations, we demonstrate self-mastery and deny others the power to determine our reactions. Sometimes not responding is the most decisive response. Intentional silence practice consists of daily moments of mental quietude where we observe reactive impulses without acting on them. Beginning with short periods, 3 to 5 minutes, and gradually increasing, this meditation strengthens our ability to choose responses rather than being dragged by automatic reactions. Equally important is cultivating inner silence, the ability to quiet reactive mental dialogue that continues ruminating about offenses long after incidents. Techniques like mindfulness meditation, where we observe thoughts without identifying with them, are particularly effective for this purpose. In high emotional tension situations, non-verbal communication techniques can convey boundaries without words, maintaining serene eye contact, upright but relaxed posture, conscious breathing, and willingness to physically withdraw if necessary. These bodily tools communicate self-respect and clear boundaries without verbal conflicts. 8. The nobility of distancing without revenge. The best revenge is not becoming like your enemy. This elevated perspective reminds us true victory isn't returning harm, but preserving integrity. Dignity as true victory involves recognizing revenge is actually self-imposed imprisonment. When dedicating energy to planning retribution, we remain emotionally chained to those who hurt us. True freedom means completely breaking that emotional bond, a practical exercise for releasing negative emotions without perpetuating conflicts is the letter never sent. D. It involves writing everything we'd like to tell the toxic person, fully expressing our feelings, then destroying or storing the writing without sending it. This ritual provides emotional catharsis without feeding conflict cycles. Strategic distancing is sometimes the only healthy option. Contrary to common belief, Stoics didn't advocate indefinitely enduring harmful situations. Marcus Aurelius himself recognized the importance of withdrawing from harmful influences when necessary to preserve mental and moral health. The 5-step gradual disengagement method offers structure for dignifiedly distancing from toxic relationships. 1. Internal clarification, precisely defining which relationship aspects are harmful. Establishing progressively firmer boundaries. 3. Gradually reducing emotional and temporal investment. 4. Developing alternative support systems. 5. Definitive disengagement, if necessary, with clear communication but without hostility. This approach minimizes drama and preserves dignity throughout the process. 9. Compassionate detachment. Love without attachment, from the Stoic perspective, doesn't mean emotional coldness or distance, but relating without depending on specific expectations about others' behavior. We love humanity in each person, even when their particular actions displease us. Universal love meditation involves accepting people as they are without letting them negatively affect us. We begin visualizing difficult persons, recognizing their complete humanity, possible sufferings, and limitations. Then, we consciously choose to maintain internal balance regardless of their actions. This practice develops love that doesn't make us vulnerable to toxic behavior. Marcus Aurelius faced multiple personal losses. Several children died young, close collaborators betrayed him, and he lived through times of war and pestilence. However, he maintained emotional stability through compassionate detachment. He didn't confuse love with emotional dependence, nor firmness with cruelty. In our era of digital hyperconnection, practicing emotional detachment requires specific strategies. Establishing containment periods for news and social networks. Developing the habit of asking, "Is this really important?" before reacting. Practicing delayed response to online provocations. Cultivating deep in-person relationships that counteract digital superficiality. Regularly remembering the impermanence of controversies and social dramas. These practices help us participate in the modern world without letting it determine our emotional well-being. 10. The urgency of present life. Stoics warned against living as if we would last 10,000 years. The inevitable looms over us and, while life permits, we should dedicate ourselves to being good. This mortality awareness immediately recalibrates our priorities. Stoic contemplation of finitude isn't morbid, but liberating. Recognizing our limited time, we naturally give less importance to petty conflicts and non-nurturing relationships. The question, "Will this merit attention on my deathbed?" instantly dissolves many trivial concerns. The daily memento mori is a Stoic practice where we dedicate a few minutes each morning or evening to contemplate mortality. Far from generating anxiety, this regular practice focuses us on what's truly significant and helps release superficial concerns, including the need for toxic people's approval. Stoics considered postponing happiness the true human life tragedy. We await perfect conditions that never arrive, while consuming limited time in relationships and situations, preventing us from flourishing. The vital time audit exercise involves recording for 1 week exactly how much time, energy, and attention we dedicate to different people. Then honestly evaluating, is this investment aligned with my deepest values? Does this relationship help me be my best version? This analysis frequently reveals significant misalignments between stated priorities and how we actually invest finite time. Self-determination as life philosophy. Marcus Aurelius demonstrated through example that everything around us can collapse without compromising our integrity. A person shouldn't fear death, but never having truly begun living according to their deepest values and convictions. This perspective places inner freedom as human existence's central purpose, living authentically from our center regardless of external approval or disapproval. His Meditations, Enduring Legacy, owes power to this universal truth. Freedom doesn't depend on favorable external circumstances, but our capacity to maintain inner integrity under any circumstance. Precisely for this, his words, written almost 2 millennia ago, continue deeply resonating with contemporary readers facing completely different challenges. 30-day plan for your Stoic liberation. Stoic philosophy isn't merely theoretical but deeply practical. To implement these principles in daily life, follow this structured 30-day plan. Week 1, establishing your inner citadel. Days 1 to 2, identifying fundamental values. Days 3 to 4, creating physical and temporal space for daily reflection. Days 5 to 6, recognizing current and necessary boundaries. Day 7, reviewing and adjusting initial progress. Week 2, practicing non-reactivity. Days 8 to 9, implementing the stop technique when provoked. Days 10, 11, practicing delayed response for digital communications. Days 12 to 13, experimenting with intentional silence in controlled situations. Day 14, analyzing reactivity patterns and developing personalized strategies. Week 3, implementing healthy boundaries. Days 15 to 16, clearly communicating needs and boundaries in specific relationships. Days 17, 18, practicing compassionate but firm no. Days 19, 20, conducting mental energy audit and reorganizing priorities. Day 21, evaluating encountered resistance and adjusting strategies. Week 4, cultivating elevating relationships. Days 22 to 23, identifying and deepening nurturing relationships. Days 24 to 25, applying compassionate detachment in challenging relationships. Days 26 to 27, implementing vital time audit. Days 28 to 30, integrating practices, celebrating progress, and planning continuity. This structured plan allows gradual but consistent implementation of Stoic principles in daily life. Maintaining freedom, sustainable practices. For inner freedom to become permanent, we need sustainable practices in our daily routine. Daily Stoic meditation can be done in just 5 minutes following this structure. 1. Contemplating transience, 30 seconds. 2. Gratitude for 3 specific life aspects, 1 minute. 3. Mental preparation for anticipated challenges, 1 minute. 4. Reminder of fundamental values, 1 minute. 5. Commitment to virtue for the day, 1 minute. 6. Accepting what we cannot control, 30 seconds. This brief but powerful practice, consistently performed each morning, keeps our Stoic perspective active. The Stoic journal provides space for reflection and growth. A practical template includes: morning, what virtues do I want to practice today? What challenges do I anticipate? Evening, where did I practice my principles well today? Where could I have done better? What did I learn? This reflective writing practice accelerates growth by making us aware of patterns and improvement opportunities. Are you ready to stop being an emotional hostage to toxic people? Which of these strategies will you implement first? If this message resonated with you, subscribe, like, and share this video with someone needing this reminder. This content is inspired by Stoic philosophy for educational and reflective purposes. It doesn't aim to diagnose, label, or promote judgments about real individuals. Its objective is to foster emotional freedom from an interior perspective.